Talking next with Ray Goss. And our conversation brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Ray Goss, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Todd.
Oh, it's good to have you on the air with us again. This is probably old home week for you to come on the air with us, huh?
Well, thanks for having me.
It is our pleasure. Hey, Ray, I want to talk to you about a couple of different things this morning. And one of them, well, I'll just play this, and I think you'll be able to hear this cut. This is Jeff Capel, the Pitt coach.
I have involvement in my schedule. It's my schedule, so I have involvement in that. So I had a lot of involvement in the schedule, but there were some things that happened that we decided not to play them this year.
Were those things just like the 20
Those are things that are between me and my AD.
All right, so there's Jeff Capel, the Pitt coach. Didn't get to play the city game against Duquesne this year. I know that you, as the play-by-play guy for the Duquesne Dukes, that has to be disappointing to you. This is a long-standing tradition, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, obviously, and it's too bad that missed it last year and missed it this year, and who knows what's going to happen the following year.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. But there was Jeff Capel saying that this is his decision not to play this game, and he would not give a solid reason why. But there was that verbal commitment that Pitt made that they obviously did not follow up on. You've done a lot of you've done basically all of them, the city games down through the years. Those have to be some great memories for you.
Yeah, they are. I go way back when there was a tournament in Pittsburgh, and the Steel Bowl, they called it, and Pitt and Duquesne would be in it, Todd, but they wouldn't play each other. Can you imagine that? They'd have 4 teams in it, and they'd make the first 2 pairings, and it didn't matter if Duquesne won or lost or Pitt won or lost. Normally, in a 4-team tournament, the 2 winners play and the 2 losers play the following night. Well, they didn't do that. They said, they just alternated around. So eventually they said, well, if they happen to win or both lose or both win, then they'd play each other. Then they finally got to scheduling each other once a year, which is the way it should be.
Yeah, and it became known as the city game, and there probably is, there are very few sporting events in Pittsburgh that got the kind of passion going as the city game.
That's right, because Pitt has really dominated in recent years. I think what they went 17 out of 18. Not much of a rivalry. Yet have 12 or 13,000 people show up at PPG Paints Arena to see the Dukes play them. And the Dukes are slowly getting better, and I think they can compete well. Last year they certainly could have. Their record was a little better. They were ranked a little higher at the end of the year. Any one game, you never know what's going to happen. But certainly I think Duquesne has elevated their program under Keith Dambrot to the point where they can compete with Pitt.
He's a whale of a coach, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's a great guy, too.
Hell yeah.
He's a terrific person.
Yeah, and I like the fact that he didn't hold back when this announcement was made, no city game again this year. Keith Dambrot was very vocal about the fact that there should be a game. This is something that Pittsburgh wants. Yeah,
he and Dave Harper jumped right on it and said, hey, we kind of had a verbal agreement. Yeah, we'll play the game. We'll work it out. And unfortunately they didn't. And Duquesne even offered to go to the Peterson Center and take no money, which is ridiculous because they could get as much as $100,000, depending on the crowd out there, from the gate receipts, which they share, or however that works. And now Pitt has counteroffered and said, well, we'll play you the following year. Mm-hmm. And Duquesne says, well, we'll let you know. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, interesting is one word. There are a few others that would apply as well. Hey, you think back, though, and for me, the city game, two things I think of. I think of Norm Nixon, number one. And then I think of Bruce Atkins and Sam Clancy.
Right. I'll never forget those matchups because it was at the Pitt Fieldhouse we were playing them that one year, and I can't remember the year, probably in the 80s. And prior to the game, Atkins hadn't taken the floor yet. And finally, it just almost at the last minute, came out for pregame warm-ups, and he had shaved his head, which was unheard of back in those days. Now, a lot of the players are doing that, of course. But he just really inspired the Dukes, and they went on to win it. He's quite a guy. He comes to most of the home games, and I get to see him a lot, and real fine gentleman.
Yeah, and Sam Clancy's a character, too, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah. He's a heck of a player. He's more of a football player, but he could transfer those that aggressiveness on the basketball court. He was a great rebounder.
Yeah, absolutely. And those matchups were so much fun. And then down through the years, you think, Nixon was such a fantastic basketball player, but I think of guys like, am I thinking right, B.J. Flannery?
Oh, yeah.
He was terrific, too, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. He just got everything out of what he had. And, he was actually drafted by the Boston Celtics. He nearly stuck with them. Uh-huh. He just was an amazing young man. He's still around the program quite a bit. It's always good to see BB. It's BB Flannery, yeah.
BB, yeah. I knew BJ was not right, but BB, it's BB Flannery. Yeah, I enjoyed watching him play. It was just so much fun. It was so much fun down through the years. You, this year, when the season came crashing down, you were actually on the road in New England, weren't you?
Oh, we were in Brooklyn.
Oh, in
Not
Brooklyn.
Place to be when that the way that virus worked out. No, we were in Brooklyn on March the 12th, ready for the first game that night in the A10 tournament, thinking that we had a shot maybe of pulling a couple upsets and possibly sneaking into the NC2As. I don't know that we would have, but if we'd won at least one game, certainly we were a solid pick for the NIT. I saw some everybody looks at the 68 teams that will go to the NCAAs with their brackets and trying to predict who's going. And but the NIT had us like as a solid 20th pick out of 32. So I think we would have definitely, had we won one game, which we would have been favored to do because we were playing Fordham in the first round and had beaten them twice, albeit both games were close. I think we would have made it the NIT and might have done a little damage there. So, but I'm glad we got out of Brooklyn as fast as we did.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Did you get out of Dodge City on the fastest train?
Yeah, they charter a lot of flights now, Todd, and at times we're able to get on them. But they have two different types of charter, a 30-seat and a 50-seat. When it's 50 seats, there's plenty of room. When there are just 30 seats, which most of the time they are, they fill up with not only the players, but the coaches, assistant coaches, trainer, sports information director, managers. And so they get us to the games and everything. They pay for our way and all that, but sometimes it's rather a circuitous route. One year it was last year, we went to get to Philly from Pittsburgh, we went to Boston and then got hung up. That was that snowstorm up there. We had to stay over a night and then got to the game the next day. They always go a day early, and we barely made the game. So, again, to save money, I think booking that late, a flight to Pittsburgh to Philly and round trip was maybe $600-700. By going the way we did, it was like a couple $100. So I understand what they're doing, but charters are the way they go. Fortunately, we flew up again commercially to Brooklyn. The team came up charter, but since the season was scrapped after that, some of the players lived in the New York area. There was room on the charter, and we were able to jump on a charter and get back that Thursday night.
Wow, the thing is, your Duke comes in the second half of the name. It's Duquesne Dukes. It's not Duke Blue Devils. That's the difference.
Right.
Big difference, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah. Hey, you've been doing this for a lot of years, Ray. How many years doing Duquesne basketball?
It's just finished the 52nd.
Your 52nd year doing Duquesne basketball. Man,
yeah.
Oh, man. Can you come back on with us in the not-too-distant future? I want to talk about some other things, too. Of course, you were right here at the very beginnings of WCCS and so many years at WDAD, which celebrates its 75th anniversary. Can we make a date to come back on?
Absolutely, no problem.
Terrific. Let's do it. I'll write to you, and we'll set it up.
All right. Thanks, Todd.
Beautiful, Ray. Have a great weekend or day. Bye now. It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS, AM 1160 and 101.1 FM, 60 and 101.